Hey there moviegoers, it's me, El Movie Master, and welcome to the spoiler version of Spectre. Now, hopefully you guys have already seen the movie, so if you have, feel free to watch this video. If you've not seen the movie yet, pause this video, watch the movie. Don't have the movie spoiled for yourself. Enjoy the movie first and then come back for this review. So, okay, this movie was something. I was really excited for Spectre. I really wanted to like this movie, and I guess I'm probably a little bit in denial, kind of like the people who saw The Phantom Menace on opening night, who were really stoked for that movie and they didn't know if they really liked it or not after seeing it. So when I first came out from watching this movie, I was like, yeah, it was good, I liked it, But watching it twice, I had to see it again. I don't hate the movie, but this movie has a lot of problems. Let's start first with the good things. The first thing that I loved right off the bat was the opening tracking shot of Bond in Mexico City, walking through Mexico with his girlfriend or his little lady friend, and he's wearing that mask that kind of resembles something from like Live and Let Die. And he's walking all through Mexico, and you see him going up the stairs, through an elevator, into his hotel room. He makes it a little bit with the girl, and then he exits the hotel room and takes off his shirt really, really quickly, and you see him in his suit, and he tells the girl, I'll be right back. And we all know he's not coming back, but he gets out with his gun, and it's still just one shot, which is amazing. The whole thing is just one whole track shot, and I'm pretty sure there's some special effects that they used to make that work, but whatever they did, it looks marvelous. And the scene that follows right after that, it's him shooting at this guy who is Sciarra, and he blows up that whole little chunk, and you have that big wall coming towards him. And the scene that follows, where Bond is going down from the broken, rooftop, he falls into a couch. The first time I saw it, I was like, okay, it's like a little Simpsons gag. The second time I saw it, I was like, okay, you're just throwing back to the whole James Bond, old classic Bond thing. And the helicopter sequence that came right after that, wow, that was so good. The whole spinning and the whole going like this, it was great. That I think it's probably the best opening shot to James Bond. When I saw that, I was like, wow, this might be the best 007 movie ever made. Sadly, everything that followed after that did not live to the opening shot. The main intro, the title sequence, was nice to look at, but it was rather weird. The whole thing about the octopus and the tentacles, for someone like me who's a Bond fan, I know where that's coming from. I know that the tentacles is a symbol of Spectre, and the tentacles is supposed to tell us that everything links, everything from Bond's past is linking to this, organization. But for someone who's not seen this, if you're seeing tentacles wrap around a woman and all this stuff, the first thing that's going to come to your mind is like, is this a hentai movie? Is this porn? What am I watching? What's going on here? Is this a Bond movie? But no, I understand what's coming from, but I was with a couple of friends, and they were like, what's going on here? Is this hentai? I'm pretty sure people from Japan will love that opening shot, but I'm not trying to generalize, but the song by Sam Smith, I thought that maybe I'll grow into liking it. I don't like it. It's probably the worst James Bond song. Not since An All-Time High, that's the song from Octopussy, has there been a terrible song like this. The falsetto that Sam Smith has, as a song alone, for just a regular song, I guess it would work, but for a James Bond song, when he says, if you love, like, oh god, it just make me like, ugh, what is this? I did like some of the scenery where it opens to the whole table with the Spectre group meeting in Rome, and you see Bond going down towards the funeral, and you see Vesper, you see Le Chiffre, you see Silva. All that stuff was nice. It was great. It's just the song I don't like it. I really don't. I wanted to like it because even an all-time high, which is not, I think it used to be the worst Bond song in my opinion. Even that one I can listen to and not feel like I want to take out my heart. This one I do. It's just so melancholy. It did not work for me. But the scene after that, when we have you know, M telling him that what was he doing in Mexico, what's going on, that stuff was great because it's kind of like a throwback to, like, you know, the old Bond films where M is talking to Bond and, you know, having a little banter. It was great. When he gets the Bond car, when they're introducing the DB10, and they're telling, Q is telling him that the car has been reassigned to 009, that was nice. That was funny. He's like, well, you can take this watch. And does it do anything? It tells the time. That part I thought was funny. Ben Whishaw as Q is great. The part where he goes like this is, I told you to bring the car in one piece, not one piece. And he starts laughing. I was the only person in the theater laughing at that joke. I thought it was funny. But there's so far up to that point the movie's fine. You know, I'm just, you know, I just know that there's an action scene gonna come up afterwards. And then we're introduced to Monica Bellucci, who I wanted to see more of her. She's beautiful. I don't care if she's 50 or 60 or whatever. I think she's gorgeous, and she's an amazing actress. If you've never seen Milena, watch that movie. It shows her amazing talent. And she was kind of underused in this movie. Her scenes are more than anything a cameo. You know, she just appears in that scene in the funeral, and then in the scene afterwards when Bond just, you know, has a sex scene with her. That was it. The scene in Rome where Bond goes to the SPECTRE meeting, I like the scene where he tells one of the guards, he goes, "Soy Topolino," like I'm Mickey Mouse. I thought that part was funny. The scene where we see the introduction of Blofeld, because it is Blofeld, when he's sitting down and he's in the shadows and everyone's talking. That scene was creepy, and it was, you know, all those that long sequence. It really felt like, wow, this is what I wanted. This is what I want out of Spectre. And then we have Dave Bautista coming in with that swagger, and he just presses his fingers towards this guy and just, you know, breaks his neck and sits down. And then when, you know, Blofeld goes, "Welcome, James. I've been waiting for you," or something like that. And he looks up. That part was great. Great introduction. Bond escapes. He throws this guy, the guy who he told I'm Mickey Mouse. He throws him out. He runs towards his car. We have the car chase sequence. And it's a really cool car chase because it kind of reminds me of the old classic Bond movies where he he presses the exhaust, and the exhaust, you know, has the fire and, you know, blows out the villain's car, who is Mr. Hanks, played by Dave Bautista. There's a funny part before that when there's this car in front of him, and he's going so slow, and he's pushing the car, and it's a funny gag. I thought it was like a nice throwback. The part I found kind of weird was when he turns on the music, and it's a sign for 009, and the face that Craig does, it's like, "Oh, God, no," or something like that. So that part was kind of weird, but whatever. And then when he ejects out of the car, I was like, oh no, we're gonna have like a Die Another Day scene where he's like, "Da-da-da-da," but no, for the most part, it played well. Like, it was a gag, but it didn't go overboard to the point of like being too campy. It was nice seeing Daniel Craig kind of embracing that he is finally James Bond, the classic Bond. So up to there is fine. My main problem after that is, you know, all the sequences that follow after that. You know, him meeting Mr. White. How does he find Mr. White in the middle of nowhere? He has no leads other than a ring, and that he has to go to Austria. Is that the only house in Austria? I don't know, but he finds Mr. White, and it was nice seeing Jesper Christensen reprising the role of Mr. White once again. We hadn't seen him since Quantum of Solace. And the scene is really short, you know, he kills himself, and then Bond gets very little to no information. His presence being there would have mattered nothing at all had he been in the film or not. Like, it only sets up for him to meet Mr. White's daughter, Madeline Swan. And I think Léa Seydoux is beautiful. She's wonderful in the role, even though her character isn't really that different from any other Bond girl. So when I find that they both fall in love, it's like, it's just kind of forced. Unlike with him and Vesper Lynd, I bought the fact that they were in love. The fact that, you know, they were coming from, you know, similar backgrounds in the sense that, you know, they both worked for MI6 in a sense, even though Vesper was an accountant. But the whole struggle through the film, I can understand why they liked one another, even though that eventually Vesper betrays him. But in this one, even though they tell you they come from similar backgrounds because, you know, she had to grow up with her father being part of this organization, it just felt really quick. Like, before you know it, they're, you know, making out and telling each other they love each other and all this stuff. So that felt kind of forced. And then I think the movie just falls apart once they get to the big information facility where Blofeld is. And we see Christoph Waltz again after being absent for like almost the whole movie. And when we see him, it's like, you know, okay, this is going to be good, it's going to be good. And then he starts talking, and his lines are just nothing. Like, he says, why'd you come? And he's like, I came to kill you. And I thought I came here to die, what you saw in the trailers. And he goes, come here, I'm going to show you something. He opens the door and shows him all these people and their computers and shit. What are they doing? They're you know, doing the surveillance system. And are they going to get into detail? Okay, let's wait. Are they going to get... They don't. They don't. You know, you just hear Blofeld saying, Le Chiffre, Mr. Green, Silva, they were all part of me. You know, I planned it all. But how? No. He doesn't get into any detail as to why this happened. You can probably say, oh, you can, you know, say that he probably gave the finance to some of these operations, but it doesn't work because in the previous films it was never mentioned. Had it been mentioned, and I understand it couldn't have been mentioned because of legal dispute, because Kevin McClory owned the right to the character of Blofeld and SPECTRE, so it couldn't have been used. That's why they had the organization Quantum. And I like the fact that the Quantum is kind of like a subsidiary of SPECTRE and all that stuff. That's great. But when he says that, you know, all these characters are, you know, a cause, that it all comes back to Blofeld, I don't buy it. And then the torture scene was fine, but just the fact that it doesn't do anything. It's like every typical Bond movie where a villain does something to him and he just escapes because he's Bond. The exploding watch was nice. I didn't mind that too much because that's a typical gadget in all the Bond movies. Either it's exploding something or it has a laser. That's fine. And it was nice to see the Omega watch coming back. And then, of course, Blofeld gets the scar and he reveals that he's Blofeld, that it's his mother's bloodline name. And you see the cat. It didn't get to the point of being, oh, hello, Mr. Bond, how you been? It doesn't get to that point. You just see him holding the cat and putting the cat out, you know, to the floor, and that was fine. But the scene after that, when they escape, and a friend of mine who was with me pointed it out, Bond escapes and there's a gun just lying on the floor, and he grabs and starts shooting. Convenient, right? But then he shoots a tank. He just shoots one tank, the whole fucking place blows up. No explanation. It was just an information center. It was an information center. There was no other tank, but it just blows up. And I'm like, okay, I really want this movie to end by now. So Bond says it's not over yet. I was like, okay, great. They escape, and then they kidnap Madeline. He goes back into the MI6 building, and it's being rigged. And it kind of reminds me by this point of a movie like Saw, because you see the arrows, James Bond, go this way. You start seeing pictures of Silva, and when I see Silva, I'm like, yeah, I really want to see Skyfall right now. You see Vesper, you see Mr. White, you see Le Chiffre, all pictures of them. And it looks like pictures that were taken out of Wikipedia or something. Like, everything that's set up around looks like something from Saw. Like, it looks like, follow this way, you know, like... And then you see Blofeld just standing there, and the lines that he delivers, you know, Christoph Waltz is a great actor. I just think the lines they gave him were shit. When he says, Bond says, "Oh, Mr. Blofeld, you're a man hard to kill." And keep in mind that they're supposed to be brothers or something, but they don't go into detail onto it. It's just really stupid. Like, before that happens, when he says, "Oh, you know, the reason I got into this lifestyle is because, you know, Daddy didn't give me enough love. They gave all the love to Bond." The fuck? That's stupid. And then when the sequence where he's in the glass, and, you know, he has a scar, it looks cool. A little goofy, but whatever. He says, "Oh, you have 3 minutes to escape, Bond." And, you know, it doesn't say like that, but it almost comes off that way. And he leaves. He gets into the helicopter, and he has to find Madeline, and she's wrapped in this red wire. It looks like something from, like, Looney Tunes. Then Bond takes her, and he jumps off. And it looks like something, again, from, like it looks like a Batman movie by this point. Like, "Do you trust me?" It looks like Christian Bale's popping out of nowhere, like, "Come with me if you want to live." It just goes down. It was so silly, but... And then when you have Blofeld in a helicopter saying, "Goodbye, James Bond," you know, Bond later blows off, shoots a helicopter crashes, and then he's crawling out of the helicopter, and, you know, Bond, he's like, you know, he's gonna shoot him, then Blofeld says, you know, finish it. He goes, "No, I have better things to do." And it kind of, like, seems like Bond is kind of, like, mirroring Daniel Craig, like, "I'm kind of done with this, I have better things to do." So when he throws the gun out, and he, you know, hugs and kisses Madeline Swan, it was like, okay, they're gonna go off into the sunset. Fade to black. Another scene appears, like, "Oh crap, this movie's not over yet, fuck!" You see Q sitting down at the computer and all this other stuff, and then Bond comes in and says, "Hey, hello, Q." And he goes, "Bond, I thought you were gone." And then Bond says, "No, well, there's one thing I need." And of course, you know, it's the original DB5 car, the Aston Martin. And, you know, him and Madeline just go off into the sunset with the James Bond thing. So, it sounds like I hate this movie, but believe me, it's far from hate. I can name movies that I hate. Like, I hate Die Another Day. Even though I've learned to appreciate its stupidness because it's part of the franchise. But Spectre, I think the first 2 acts of this film are solid. It's just the 3rd act that it reeks of reshoots. You can tell the last act was reshot, and I don't know how the original script was. I know that there was a script leak back last year when the whole Sony leak happened, and I know they changed some things, but the whole twist of him being Blofeld, I knew that. I mean, when I heard that Kevin McClory had passed away, and then the Broccoli family obtained the rights to the character of Blofeld and the organization Spectre, I knew they were going to use him. And it's so blatantly obvious when you see the title Spectre. Blofeld's going to be in there, and you have Christoph Waltz. I mean, it's just so obvious. So that twist, I saw it coming. It was nice to see M in the field, and Naomi Harris as Moneypenny in the field. Everyone was in the field pretty much, even Tanner. It kind of felt like they wanted to have like a Mission Impossible thing where everyone's working together. And I don't think it works for this franchise. It works for Mission Impossible because that's a franchise built on the whole team thing. Since the series, the series in the 1960s, there's always been about a team. It's never been about Ethan Hunt alone. But with Bond, it's always pretty much been about James Bond going solo, always under the orders of M. But this one, he's rogue again, and it's kind of getting tiresome. So seeing them all together, it's fine, but it's just like, okay, let this be the last time you do this. Next time, just have Bond on his mission by himself, alone. So I don't hate this movie. Like I said in my previous review, I give this movie a 3.2 out of 5. It's entertaining. There's a lot of throwbacks to the Bond films, the previous ones, probably a lot more than what we've gotten accustomed to. And I said that I might have liked this movie 10 years ago, because 10 years ago we were fine with the James Bond formula. You know, the James Bond formula was something that we've gone to expect. You know, Bond goes on to the mission, he sleeps with a girl, he kills a bad guy, he gets the girl at the end, that's it. He uses a couple of gadgets. That's the typical Bond formula. And people like that. They like that predictability of the franchise. I don't mind it, but I like when they mix things up. Like, for example, Skyfall. Bond doesn't necessarily sleep with everyone. He is a human being. He gets shot. He has to start from scratch. It's nice to see that. But here, everything feels kind of safe. Just a little too safe. But Daniel Craig does a great job as Bond. I mean, I would hope he comes back to the role, even though he has said in multiple interviews that he'd rather slash his wrists than coming back to this role. But I think that was taken out of context because it was right after he had finished filming SPECTRE, because this movie took 2 years to film, and with a $300 million budget, you know, that's a lot of money for a movie. But you can tell the money went to the right places. So hopefully Daniel Craig comes back for at least one Bond film, even though this one ends kind of like saying, goodbye everyone, I'm done here with this franchise, I want to move to other things. And I don't know, Daniel Craig is a great actor. I think a lot of the stuff he's done afterwards, and in the time that he's been playing Bond, has not been well received. Stuff like Cowboys and Aliens, which wasn't a very good movie, even though I own it. Dreamhouse wasn't good. Flashbacks of a Fool was whatever. His only movie, which was made right before Casino Royale, was Layer Cake, which was really good. For the most part, everything that he's done, an exception of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, has been pretty much So, and he was originally rumored to come back for The Girl with Plain Fire, but they're actually rebooting the franchise of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo without Daniel Craig. So hopefully Craig comes to his senses and comes back for a 5th one, or maybe a 6th one. And as for someone who would replace Daniel Craig, I would love to see Idris Elba. I liked him in Luther, and I would love to see him as Bond. Yes, that would not be completely loyal to what Ian Fleming did, and it's not about being PC about it, you know, because some people are saying they want to see a female Bond, and I would not like to see a female Bond. And hear me out, because Ian Fleming wrote the character as James Bond, not Jane Bond. It's a male character. What they can do is just do different characters. I mean, there's a whole 00 section. Why don't you do a film called, you know, 005, and it's a female agent? You can do that. Or you can do, you know, something different, you know, where a female agent is working also with Bond. That would work, kind of like what they did with Triple X in Spy Who Loved Me, but give it a new 21st century mix. So, let me know what you guys thought of SPECTRE. I did not hate this film, don't get me wrong, it was not bad. I just think the 3rd act is where the film suffers the most. It reeks of it really felt like that last half was like, we have no clue what to do. We have this character Blofeld, but we don't know how to make him menacing. You have Christoph Waltz, 2-time Golden Globe winner, and you're giving him some of the dumbest lines. Like, there's a line where he says, Bond is saying something, and he goes, what's that, James? I didn't hear you, whatever. And he says it in such a way like, I'm just here for the paycheck, because they want me for this film. That's what it felt with Christoph Waltz, but it's probably far from the truth. He's a great actor. He's done a good job with the Quentin Tarantino films. He was actually good in Water for Elephants. He's been good in a lot of movies. So, like I said, I gave this movie 3.2 out of 5. I think it's worth watching in theaters. I didn't see it in IMAX. I'm pretty sure it looks great in IMAX. There's some shots in this movie that look gorgeous. The cinematographer, well, I don't remember his name. I know he did the cinematography in the movie Her and Interstellar. So every shot looks great. Probably not to the point of Skyfall, because what Roger Deakins did with Skyfall was amazing. But it still looks wonderful. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. Until next time.